Hi, I'm Antoine Andrews. I'm the Chief Diversity and Social Impact Officer at Momentive. At Momentive, our vision is to raise the bar for human experiences by amplifying individual voices, especially voices that do not have equal opportunity to be heard. Our commitment to diversity and social impact is just as important to our commitment to business metrics. So one of the things we're going to be talking about is the wealth inequality between Black and white Americans. As we know, it's grown incredibly wide. The gap is growing as we endure this pandemic and as the ongoing racial injustice puts even up more barriers to success. That's why we're so proud to collaborate with Operation Hope on the Hope Minority Small Business Index, a quarterly look at the lived experience and optimism of Black small businesses, business owners, and aspiring entrepreneurs. I'm honored to be joined here by two inspiring leaders to discuss the findings of our latest Hope Minority Small Business Index. My colleague, John Cohen, the Chief Research Officer at Momentive, who brings years of top-notch polling, public opinion expertise to our organization, and so much more. And Elaine Hungenberg, the Executive Vice President at Hope Research and Impact Institute, leading Hope's big data and analytics platform, the guiding organizational research and thought leadership initiatives at the Institute. So in 2021, Operation Hope, in collaboration with Momentive, began surveying thousands of small business owners each quarter. We've collected 2 quarters of data, which we'll discuss today. And so I want to say thank you to both Elaine and John for joining me. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do.
Great. I'm Elaine Hungenberg. I've been with Operation Hope for more than a decade, working to inspire everyone across the country via financial empowerment. So we help everyone from people who want to be home buyers and start building wealth to aspiring entrepreneurs, to helping them actually open their doors. My department at Operation Hope is critical in evaluating the efficacy of our work and doing research for research's sake around financial empowerment to ensure that we're able to make success stories with our clients. So I'm just really happy to be here, and I'm so thankful for Momentive for joining our initiatives.
And thank you, Elaine. John?
Hey, Antoine. John Cohen, Chief Research Officer at Momentive. Thank you for both saying Momentive. Up until about a few months ago, we were SurveyMonkey. And so when I joined in 2014, all the way up through this summer, SurveyMonkey was tip of the tongue. So I've been here for that long time, focused on kind of making sure that the methodology that goes into using our surveys for the millions of people who use our surveys is there for them, that when they want to do surveys well, they can rely on our products. And there's an AI and ML component, but it all started with plain old research, which my team has run for a long time. And so really thrilled to put that into action with some of our main strategic partners. So I'll talk today about some of the surveys we do for CNBC and have been doing that for a few years. But we're thrilled to have Hope as a new partner on this really important work as we not only expose some of the disparities that continue to plague our society, but also work towards bridging those gaps. And so really happy for this partnership and really excited to dig into the data.
Yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation with the two of you. As I said, I really mean inspiring leaders. It's important to be able to hear what we've heard and why it's important. So Elaine, I'm going to start with you if that's okay. Can you tell me a little bit about how this partnership and the partnership between Hope and Momentive came about, and talk a little bit about the goals of the research?
Sure, I would love to. So Hope has always had a focus on financially empowering minorities, and for almost 30 years has helped aspiring entrepreneurs start their business and existing small business owners grow their business. And because of the role we play, Hope is acutely aware of the challenges that specifically Black small business owners have faced. And after COVID-19 pandemic began, Hope saw those challenges exacerbated. And so we sought to quantify and track those barriers, but to also measure the optimism of Black entrepreneurs. Did they feel like they could survive? Did they feel like they could thrive? So our CEO, John Hope Bryant, reached out to SurveyMonkey at the time. And the result of that outreach was this collaborative effort that turned into the Minority Small Business Index. And real quick, the goals of that index, again, it's just to quantify the experiences and hopefulness of Blacks small business owners. And it's designed in such a way that we can identify the issues, right? So that we can create new interventions, so that we can change policy, we can enact new policy, and so that we can create new products and strategies that can help them succeed.
That's great. That's important. I think getting information is important, but being able to act and move on that is even more critical in this. And so, John, I'm kind of going to keep going down that path. And if we think about COVID-19 and the pandemic and how it's upended, so many aspects of the economy, and really we've heard it so much is true for small businesses. What have we learned from the data so far?
Well, again, first time for a little more background, I mentioned the CNBC relationship that we have and Hope Foundation does as well. We've been surveying small business owners for more than 4 years with CNBC in a quarterly index. And so we saw, kind of the pernicious effects of COVID-19, as Elaine mentioned, on all small businesses, but particularly those effects were pernicious among small business owners of color. And so that's both worth a deeper dive, which we're doing together with the data that we'll share today. But it's also, we've been doing it for so long. We know this had a particular effect at a particular time. Just to go back to that nationwide data, only half of Black small business owners in our CNBC surveys think that they could make it another year, or thought they could when Delta variant first took hold at the end of the summer. That, far fewer than white small business owners. So this has a particular effect. And again, that warrants the deeper dive that I mentioned that we'll talk about, but also, kind of the follow through to what are the actual policies that people want to put in place. We can talk later about the role that small business owners expect government to take, but that's particularly true among Black small business owners in both the nationwide surveys that we do with CNBC and this new joint effort with Hope.
Outstanding. And so we know coming into 2021, there was a huge shift from trying to get through the pandemic, but also a new administration from a political perspective. And so, Elaine, I'm going to take this next question for you. What are some of the unique challenges Operation Hope's research shows that small Black business owners face, even in a non-pandemic year?
Yeah, so the challenges, unfortunately, have not changed that much, right? So pre-COVID, during COVID, a lot of the challenges, the foundational challenges that Black business owners face, they're the same. And that first one is financial health and access to capital. So most Black small business owners are sole proprietorships, right? So their personal financial health plays a pivotal role in their business's success, right? Are they resilient? Do they have savings? Do they have a credit score that allows them to be financially included in the financial sector? And unfortunately, for many of the clients that Operation Hope works with, their personal financial health is not where it needs to be, where they can sustain a successful business, right? So first and foremost, it's their financial health, and then it's access to capital. When you compare the ability of Black small business owners to access capital, to get lines of credit, to get small business loans, it's much lower than their white counterparts, right? And it's really helping to close that gap to get them to access to capital so they can survive something like COVID, so that they can grow when they want to grow, so that they can open another business or pivot to online, right? When no one's going to the stores anymore. It's all of that. It's the financial health, it's the access to capital. And then lastly, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about social capital. So when you compare Black small business owners to whites, Black small business owners, they don't have the mentorships. They don't have the support networks. They don't have the person that they can call when they need accounting help or legal help or web design help. And when you compare that again to their white counterparts, whites do. And so Operation Hope is trying to intervene on these, right? We're creating a network for Black entrepreneurs to coalesce, to join together. We're connecting them to business mentors through our 1 Million Black Business Initiative. We're also bringing on business partners, people and organizations that are donating hours of time. So accounting hours, everything I just mentioned. So it really is, it's the financial capital, it's the social capital, I would say those are two really big challenges that they're facing. And I think John will see that.
Yeah, and I was just going to, if in full agreement, just add some numbers to put this into context. 58% of minority-owned small businesses, according to our surveys, struggle to access capital. That's what they need to do. That's what they need to kind of run those businesses. 92% of Black small business owners believe that there's not enough social, financial, and governmental support for Black small business owners in the US. So that they're not seeing the support. That all sums up to fully 79% of respondents to our joint survey, kind of saying that Black businesses are much less likely to succeed than white ones. That is, kind of a remarkable difference in perception. Interestingly, to go back to the beginning of this conversation, Elaine, you mentioned this is also a community that's very hopeful. And so although they see that success is kind of harder to come by, they're more hopeful that they can get there. And in large part, that comes to some of the skills that you're providing and you're talking about. So when you compare, Black respondents in our surveys with CNBC to the Black respondents in the surveys with you, yours are even more hopeful. This population is even more hopeful. They have access to those educational, they have access to the training materials, excuse me for fumbling that through. They have access to the capital that is the big problem, and they're more hopeful for government intervention. And, we'll see how the infrastructure bill or however many trillions of dollars that the Congress may be able to pass, can have an effect on this business, but it'll have an outside effect on this community.
I just need to piggyback off that because there's a stunning statistic right now that is, the enthusiasm Blacks have surpasses almost all groups, right? And the U.S. has seen a significant increase in the number of Black entrepreneurs, but specifically female Black entrepreneurs. And it makes me so excited because for the first time ever, Black women have become so invested in starting their own businesses that they've surpassed the number of Black male entrepreneurs, making them the only ethnic group that has more female business owners. And it's just, you talk about hopefulness. Those women, they're so hopeful that they can take charge of their future and start a business and be successful.
Yeah,
they also face somewhat stiffer challenges. I'm sorry, Antoine, go ahead.
No, I think what we talk a lot about the pandemic, and we talk about the impact that the pandemic is having on lives, and we know that. But I live by this mantra: multiple realities can exist at once. And what I'm hearing from you around the hopefulness, but also, Elaine, you talked about the spotlighting on issues that were there pre-pandemic as well, that are now being paid a little bit more attention. Financial health and all of those things that will have an impact on Black businesses, entrepreneurs, Black women, all of those things. And think about what that last point you just shared, Elaine, about Black women are eclipsing, their male counterparts more than any group in itself. That's a silver lining. And, that's the piece of, yes, the pandemic is having an impact, and we're seeing the hope that can come through this. And we're seeing some wins that will help us come through. So, John, I know you're going to follow up with some points.
Well, I was just going to point out that, Black women in particular are turning to education. We talked about kind of what's available to them, and also to digital transformation. Black women more than Black men in our surveys, think that it's technological innovation and digital transformation more broadly that are going to help their businesses succeed. So it is that changing of kind of how business is conducted, and that we see and kind of can be particularly hopeful for Black women entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and I think the worst thing that can happen is that their hopefulness gets crushed because of some systemic barrier that doesn't need to be there, right? And that's why I'm so grateful to Momentive, to donating their time and their expertise to begin this index with Operation Hope, because this hopefulness, like that won't be extinguished fast unless the barriers remain, right? These systemic issues that we can't surpass. And that would be the failure, right? Is that we learn all of this. They have the hopefulness, they have the desire. We're going to intervene. We're going to give them the education, the financial access, and all this stuff. And yet they still can't succeed. That we need to make sure that we're taking this data, we're learning from it, and we're helping them succeed.
And pushing for change. I think 57% of Black women in our survey say they lack access to financial institutions. That's even higher than the already high 43% among Black men. Those are big numbers, and I assume not easily changed, but they're certainly not easily changed without great effort.
Right.
I'll ask this question because I know we're doing it on a quarterly basis. What's our plan? What's the plan to ensure that we are continuing to get those insights as we see improvement, or as you said, John, the infrastructure bill gets passed or not gets passed, or whatever. Like what's the plan there?
So we've committed to running this quarterly. We're committed to running quarterly among this, key group of entrepreneurs who have access, to the particular, set of tools that the Hope Foundation is providing. And we're also committed to running it quarterly with CNBC. These are the best data on small business CNBC editors have seen in multiple decades. We think it's important to keep it going. It's for the index, so you can trace ups and downs on the same questions. But there's also there are new challenges for small businesses all the time. We've talked a lot about COVID. That's been around for 18 months. It's going to be with us in some effect, certainly on businesses, for another 18 months at least. But over the 4 years we've been doing it, sometimes we focus on Amazon and kind of its implications for small business. Other times it's Facebook and Instagram. And so kind of we use these vehicles, these quarterly vehicles, to talk about the issues of the day that affect small businesses across the country. One of the things that's shined through, kind of across the 4 years of data is there's always a difference between white-owned and minority-owned small businesses. That is, on the positive side for minority small business owners, they're consistently more optimistic. That is not something new, in COVID. They also face more challenges and also see more opportunities in the digital side of things. Half of small business owners, kind of reach out through Facebook, way more than do so, kind of on the web generally. That'll be something to continue to watch closely as public perceptions and small business perceptions of Facebook continue to evolve, and how those, affects these different communities of color, age we haven't talked about. There's an intersectionality here that is deeply important. The one way I know we can contribute is by continuing to survey, and that's what we're committed to doing.
Awesome. Elaine, I have a question for you because I know you were talking about society. We talked about the wealth gap and the impact that has on an equitable society. We asked respondents for their thoughts on the success in creating an equitable society and how small business has an impact on that. What did we learn from the results on that?
Yeah, no, I'm so glad you asked. So in our Q2 survey, nearly everyone, 96% of our respondents, agreed with this statement: if Black businesses succeed, we will have a more equitable society. And I personally, and I know Operation Hope, we couldn't agree more, right? Wealth is built first by home ownership and second by business interests, right? And so if we can make a more equitable playing field for Black small business owners, you will inevitably cut into the racial wealth divide. And then on the flip side, the survey also said that only 74% see other minority small business owners succeeding in their community. And that's devastating. So the fact that they don't see other Black small businesses succeeding, and yet they remain hopeful, imagine what they could do if they saw similar Black business owners succeeding, right? You do what you see, right? You're uplifted by people who look like you succeeding. And unfortunately, our respondents are saying they're not seeing each other succeed.
Yeah, that's important. I think the quote of if you can't see it, you can't be it. And that's what that is really all about. And so, John, I'm going to kind of go with you, kind of staying in that sense around, what's most needed to help these small businesses start, reinvent, and grow their businesses. Is there an interesting gender gap, the generational divide that you're seeing in the results? So can you talk a little bit about what we saw there?
When we talked about some of the gender ones already, with particularly around Black women. There's similar ones around age. I'll turn again to the technological innovation and the hope that people can transform their businesses. That is more evident among older entrepreneurs of both white and those of color than they are among younger. They're the ones who are seeking those opportunities to transform, digitally, by necessity. Elaine already mentioned that's where consumers are. That's where companies need to transform. Digital transformation is true among big businesses, as we talk about all the time and you read about, but it's also true among small businesses, how those customers show up, what the employees expect. Those are all things I mentioned, Facebook and kind of general web stuff earlier. That's how they're moving. I would say kind of an even bigger thing that affects people across demographic lines is on governmental policy. We are kind of at a particular moment, particularly with the Congress and the White House, kind of pushing for a bigger infrastructure bill that will have major implications for the labor market, will have major implications for, kind of all of these businesses. When you look across, and I'm just reading off all the things we asked about that people think might have a positive or negative effect in the current 12 months. Government regulation, tax policy, trade policy, technological innovation, which we just touched on, and immigration policy. All of those are areas where there are outsized expectations among Black small business owners than white small business owners. And so that is an area where when we think about what policies will actually come out of the current negotiations, they're going to have major implications for the success of these businesses and whether those, whether they're going to be those examples that you and Elaine, Antoine, you and Elaine just touched on. Like, we need those examples of success in the communities. Government and government policy is going to have a big say in that in the coming months.
Very helpful. I mean, what I'm hearing, and I'm excited at, is that small businesses, Black small business, will have a role in the future of what this economy will look like, the growth of the economy, the recovery of the economy, and I think the continuation of an economy where everyone can succeed. And so I think that's going to be exciting for me, and to watch and see and hear more results. So I'm going to ask you your last two, like what stood out for you? Are there any insights, notable trends in the research that you want to shed some light on? Either one of you. I'll start with you.
I think we've already hit upon it, but I'm going to drive it home. They are hopeful and they want to succeed. And I think, from the governmental sector to Operation Hope to Momentive, we all have a role to play in helping them succeed, and to making a more equitable playing field so that they can.
I'll say one data point that jumped out at me that I want to dig into more and survey more, and luckily we can and do it better together, is the fact that when kind of their supply chain price increases, we've all heard about those. We've heard about the ships backing up and kind of constricting supply for small businesses and what they're able to sell and how they handle their inventories. If you look at the data, Black small business owners are far less apt to pass on supply chain price increases to their customers. It could relate to the, I'll throw out a couple of hypotheses, or maybe one, but it could relate to the connection to the community. They don't want to, they see themselves in their customers and don't want to increase prices more. Potentially, I'm throwing it out, it needs more testing, but in terms of the implications of all of the, kind of how it all connects, because it does all connect, the implications of it need to be studied, and that's what we're here to do. So that's kind of one finding that jumped out at me on second review that I want to follow up on. I'll say more broadly, we have a near-term opportunity to do that, which we're kind of about to go into the field in the next few weeks, around Small Business Saturday. We have a joint project that we've launched with Elaine and team around kind of how Small Business Saturdays, that after Thanksgiving, when small businesses kind of put their mark on the holiday season. There's been lots of discussion on that. We're eager to do a deep dive of that and learn new things.
That's helpful. Elaine, I'm going to put you on the spot because John talked a little bit about what's coming. As you think about hope and what's coming that we can expect to see that will impact, small Black businesses coming out of Operation Hope.
There's so much, Antoine. We have a massive 1 million Black business initiative that we launched with Shopify, and we're committing to uplifting 1 million Black entrepreneurs and small business owners in the next 10 years. And that's through this massive collaborative effort of organizations across the globe. And so just like Momentum is dedicating their time for this index, we have companies that are signing on to help. And this is my call to action for anyone who watches this. Reach out to Operation Hope. Help uplift 1 million Black businesses in any way you can. Volunteer, dollars, time, your company's resources, be a mentor, create a new product if you're a financial institution that can help them, right? It's our call to action, but we're so excited for the next 10 years.
Outstanding. And I'll just share, as the Chief Diversity and Social Impact Officer, one of the things we've been talking about on our team is the impact of reshaping the workforce and reshaping the future of work, and understanding that small businesses play a role in that. And what does that look like? And really being able to identify. So my team will continue to look for opportunities to partner with organizations like Operation Hope to be able to continue to reshape that workforce and really focus in on closing the wealth gap, but also preparing, what we believe is an equitable society. I always like to say that we are all working to create something we've never seen before. And you can do that from a lot of ways, being active in it. I think John's point about research and understanding why things are the way they are to help us create the programming we need to go forward. So I'm excited to be a part of it. Again, you both are very inspiring. I leave here again. This is my second meeting of the day where folks have inspired me to do something else. And so I'm going to spend some time doing that. Any last parting shots for you all? I really appreciate your time, but any last parting shots?
No, this was lovely. Thank you so much, Antoine.
Swan, thank you, Antoine, for your leadership, and Elaine for your partnership. I'm looking forward to much more.
Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Q3 and Q4 data and seeing what's happening.
Coming up.
You all take care. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest.
It goes on. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.